What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing? I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. This is another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. And this was definitely one of the funnest weekends of movies that we've had in a while, in my opinion. Just because, we got to go to the movies, and then we got to go to streaming, even though I wish both things were in theaters.
Yeah.
Just so that way I can get the visual and audio experience. But today we're going to talk about the first movie that we saw this weekend, which is the new film Bullet Train by David Leitch, who is one of the guys who worked on John Wick and the Deadpool movies. So it stars Brad Pitt, Hiroyuki Sanada, let me see, Joey
Aaron Taylor
King,
Johnson,
Brian Tyree Henry. God, there's so many people in this. It's a very great cast. I'm sure people are like, who the hell are you guys talking about? It's like, if you've seen their other works, whether in movies, television stuff, they're all solid actors. So it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we really got to go see that. I don't know if it was worth it in IMAX. I mean, I couldn't really pay attention, to be honest. I think I was so sucked in I didn't notice when the aspect ratio changed, but it was still fun.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
mean, it was still cool. Yeah, as far as other IMAX movies that we have seen this year, I don't think this one used the format to the extent that the other movies had. I did notice a little, the aspect ratio changes here and there, but it was a little bit negligible. Like, I wouldn't say like you have to go see this in IMAX, as that's the only way to see it. I think any format for this movie works.
Yeah. Other than that, like I said, it was a lot of fun. Essentially, Brad Pitt is he's a criminal of some sorts, and he's supposed to be doing just a snatch and grab on a bullet train in Japan. And it's definitely it's just such a fun movie. I know ratings-wise it's a little hit and miss with people. Some people love it, some people hate it. So it is literally going to be one of those movies, in my opinion, that you either like it or you don't. Let me see. Again, I thought it was great. Brad Pitt, he shows that he's still got it, especially in an action movie, because he hasn't really done too much of those. I guess the last one I really saw him in was Deadpool 2 as Vanisher.
Yeah, I was gonna say The Lost City, probably with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. He had a pretty action-filled role, as minor as that was in that movie, which was pretty funny.
I still haven't seen that one. I know I should, but like I said, he's still awesome, and the rest of the cast does great. Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's good to see him in like a very different. Well, for me, it's a different role than what I've seen him before. So I thought that was good. He's got versatility. Brian Tyree Henry never fails. Joey King, she's starting to do more like adult roles because she's an adult now. So it's good. This was a good character for her, in my opinion. And then again, just the rest of the cast, because I don't really want. This is a non-spoiler review, guys, so I don't want to spoil it too much. And I did forget to mention, I'm sorry, I got really into it, Burn. But before we get into our rantings and stuff, guys, we do appreciate you pressing that like button, ringing the bell to keep up to date, and just subscribing so you guys can stay with us on our ranting journey and just keep the ranting going. So but Bern, what did you think of the movie overall when we saw it?
I really had a lot of fun with this movie. Like you mentioned before, this is a David Leitch movie, and I'm a fan of his. For his, like you said, his John Wick movies. Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. So we know that he has a really good handle on action. Him and Chad Stahelski, who was the other half of the directing duo that did the first John Wick, and Chad has done the last two of those, and David Leitch has moved on to other things. Even Hobbs and Shaw, I really enjoyed from him. So yeah, we know he can do action and stuff, but with this movie, he uses that in addition to like a lot of more comedic character work and stuff, which I thought was pretty fun. There were certain parts where I felt like the dialogue didn't really hit too much, as like I can tell like they were going for the comedy, but it didn't really punch as much as the actual punches did. But like you mentioned, the cast here is great, so they're all incredibly charismatic, and a lot of the comedy that I did like came from the situational comedy that we get into in this movie, which there is a lot of, and the premise itself of it taking place all on this bullet train. I felt like they utilized the set to its fullest extent. And, there was different cards that looked in different ways, and they kept it visually interesting to go along with the action and the characters. So all those technical aspects really worked for me. I will say that it did feel a little bit too long. Like there was a point like towards the end, surprisingly, like towards the end, where it felt like it kind of grinded to a halt. Um, but other than that, those are the only like negatives that I have on it. Like I said, I really enjoyed these characters. As you mentioned, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry were the real standouts for me. So I would definitely like to see more from them if they were to do any potential spin-offs of this movie or something. I feel like it in a way that John Wick did, where it sort of like built an interesting universe. I felt like this movie kind of did that too, and I would like to see like different stories set in this universe if they were planning to do that. They kind of leave it open. If like you wanted to explore it, you could. If not, this could be its own thing, and it works as its own thing itself. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, either them or I wouldn't mind a spin-off of Hiroyuki Sanada and what his character went through,
Mhm.
because he's just a standout in almost everything
Everything
he
is in,
does.
yeah.
No matter how little part, yeah, no matter how small a part he is, he always makes an impact, and he's just got the charisma. So he's just a badass through and through, and such a great actor. But my ranting for this, I'm gonna go with a 4, to be honest, just because this was one of those movies that really sucked me in from the opening scene. Some of the jokes didn't hit, and there were some parts I can kind of see dragged on a little bit. Like it was like, okay, we kind of get it, so let's move forward.
Mm.
But strictly because of the cast, the action, and then when the comedy lands, it was hilarious. Like the whole theater was laughing for like a good few minutes
Yeah.
after a couple
There was
scenes.
one
So
part in this movie that got the biggest laugh out of me in a theater this year, so I will hand it to
and it
that.
was such a great one. But what would you rant it, Bern? What would you rank it?
For me, it is a 3 out of 5. I definitely recommend someone watch this movie, whether they like action or whether they like fun characters. As much as this movie, I feel like fails to sort of emulate things like a Guy Ritchie movie or a Tarantino movie, where David Leitch's strengths are within action and action, comedy through action. So when he plays to his strengths, the movie really sings. And I did really enjoy it for all those aspects. Like I said, I liked it more than I didn't like it for sure. And like you mentioned, the comedy when it hits, it really hits. So yeah, this is a 3 out of 5 for me.
For sure. Well, that's very solid rating. So yeah, guys, for those of you who did see it this last weekend, what did you guys think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was there anything that stood out to you? Anything you want to see more of from this, like spin-off stuff like Byrne was talking about? We'd love to know. But stay tuned, guys, and don't be afraid to check out our Prey non-spoiler review, because that was another standout, which we'll talk about in the next video. Like I said, guys, we're kind of rounding out the summer, so keep in tabs with us. There's gonna be a couple more movies coming out, a lot of movie news and stuff. So yeah,
And,
we
and the
will we'll
TV
stay
shows are
tuned.
really about to start ramping up here pretty soon.
TV shows as well, exactly, especially with She-Hulk coming out in a couple weeks. So
Yeah,
we'll get
She-Hulk,
that going.
House of Dragons, and Rings of Power all like within the same time. So it's gonna be it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot, guys. So stay tuned, and as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. As always, be good, be safe, and we will catch you guys on the next one.